The Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, has addressed the press on the forthcoming International Conference on the Save Our Schools initiative. The conference is scheduled for the 25th to 27th October 2021 at the ECOWAS Secretariat, Abuja, Nigeria. This is the first time the event will hold on the African continent. Represented by Architect Sunday Ochonu, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu said, the event seeks to galvanize action to protect our educational institutions from being attacked. The event, the Honorable Minister continued, will build on the previous success achieved in the protection of our schools and staff in all our educational institutions. The attacks prevalent in Nigeria today are those of bandits and other armed groups, which the 112 member states of the United Nations are committed in protecting both their teachers and students from. The Honorable Minister concluded that the global coalition to ensure that our educational institutions are not just safe for all, but that those who are victims get justice are goals that all partners and member nations would always pursue to its logical conclusion.
The Honorable Minister for Education, and indeed our partner ministries, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Women Affairs, and partner countries who have hosted conferences on Safe Schools Declaration, namely Argentina, Norway, and Sweden. I take very special pleasure in welcoming the gentlemen of the press to this briefing to share with Nigerians the expectations and the activities lined up for the forthcoming International Conference on Safe Schools Declaration that has been scheduled for the ECOWAS Secretariat in Abuja from the 25th to the 27th of October. So this briefing, I believe, is comprehensive and is intended to bring us all on the same page as we will be receiving visitors from all around the world for this epoch-making event. The fourth International Conference on the Safe Schools Declaration to be hosted jointly by Nigeria, Argentina, Norway, Spain, the African Union Commission, and the GCPEA from the 25th to 27th of October 2021 in Abuja, seeks to galvanize action to protect education from attack. You all are aware of the current state of insecurity and the targeting of our schools, so you will agree with me that this is coming at the most appropriate time. The Safe Schools Declaration, by way of information, is an intergovernmental political commitment by member states of the UN to better protect schools and universities, their students and staff during armed conflict, and to implement concrete measures to deter security forces from the use of schools, while making governments commit to strengthening monitoring and reporting of attacks on schools and education generally. The governments also commit to investigate and prosecute perpetrators of attacks on education and to provide assistance to the victims of such attacks. You will note that in our own particular scenario, the main and urgent challenge is that of attacks by bandits, kidnappers, and all forms, insurgents, and all forms of miscreants who pose security threats and tend to endanger the lives of our kids in school. The declaration was first drafted through a consultative process led by Norway and Argentina, and was opened for endorsement at an international conference in Oslo in Norway way back in May of 2015. The declaration has served as an effective tool for protecting students and educators from attacks perpetrated by armed forces and armed groups since then. And a significant majority of UN member states, numbering 112, that is more than half of the number of membership of the UN, and representing all regions of the globe, including Nigeria, have endorsed this declaration. By implication, the 112 member states have committed to protecting children and teachers in conflict situations and to avoiding the use of schools, including our universities, as military resources or targets, thus contributing to preserving the civilian nature of these facilities. Specifically, these member states have expressed political commitment to ensure the safety of civilians, preservation of the civilian character of educational facilities, and the general protection of education from attack. Furthermore, by endorsing the declaration, states have agreed to use the guidelines for protecting schools and universities for military use during armed conflict. Though a non-binding practical tool, it is intended to deter military use of schools and universities. Member states also agreed to support the efforts of the UN Security Council, the Special Representative on Children and Armed Conflict, and other relevant UN agencies. So our conference on Safe Schools Declaration is a biennial event with the overarching aim of taking stock and reviewing progress in implementation of the Safe Schools Declaration and the guidelines for protecting schools and universities for military use during armed conflict. It is also intended to encourage commitment and action in protecting education from attack. With the incessant attacks on education, which is further compounded by the COVID-19 situation, you will agree with me that there is high need to better protect education for improved educational outcomes. The Abuja Conference is the fourth international conference on the Safe Schools Declaration and the first to be held on the African continent. The previous conferences, 1, 2, 3, as I said earlier, were held in 2015, 2017, and 2019 in Oslo, Norway, Buenos Aires in Argentina, and Palma de Mallorca in Spain, respectively. This fourth international conference on Safe Schools Declaration will build on previous conferences by galvanizing support for the Safe Schools Declaration and monitoring UN member states' progress in carrying out these declarations' commitments to better protect learners and learning institutions. The conference will also serve to maintain and amplify momentum of the Safe Schools Declaration and its commitment to make safe education for all a reality. Nigeria is co-hosting the conference with the African Union Commission, the governments of Argentina, Norway, and Spain, as well as the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack, what we call the GCPEA. Now, what are the objectives of this conference? It is to share good practice in implementing key commitments in the declaration to inspire other states to adopt the practice within their own context. It is also forging global cooperation and strengthening coordination in the protection of education and deterring military use of schools by bringing together education, defense, and foreign affairs ministries, as well as multilateral and civil society organizations to discuss prevention as well as response measures. And it's also intended to identify actions which governments can take to better achieve accountability for attacks on education and justice for the victims by building and strengthening international and national legal mechanisms. The theme of the conference is ensuring safe education for all, from commitment to practice. There will be 3 panel discussions and 2 sessions as follows. The first panel will be on the use of guidelines for protecting schools and universities from military use during armed attack. This panel will examine how the guidelines have been used by states and the UN Department of Peacekeeping Operations to better build and protect education and save lives. Concrete examples of how military use of schools has been reduced as a result of implementing the guidelines will be highlighted and shared. The second panel will deal with ensuring the continuity of safe education in zones of conflict. This is particularly critical for us. And the panel will highlight good practice in enabling safe education to continue during armed conflict. So things like distance learning and other alternative education programs utilized during the COVID-19 pandemic will be examined to explore how they might be applied to the context of attacks on education. We'll also be talking about accelerated educational curricula to bring up after conflict or even because of conflict those who drop out of schools as a result of military or other activities. In addition, the panel will consider how the Safe Schools Declaration, by keeping schools safe, can be a tool to prevent other forms of grave violations, such as recruitment of students, sexual violence, and abductions, and how the Safe Schools Declaration can better protect women, and particularly the girl child, during conflict. The third panel will discuss the way forward, investigating allegations of violations, prosecuting perpetrators, and providing assistance to survivors. The three panels will open to in-person as well as virtual participants, and the format will involve a moderator asking each panelist a particular question. If possible, the moderator will also ask panelists 2 rounds of questions and so on. Those are the details that I'll share with you in the course of this briefing. In addition to these 3 panels, there will be 2 sessions that will not focus on a particular commitment, as the panels do, but instead consider the experiences of implementing the Safe Schools Declaration in a more holistic manner, first from a military perspective, and the second from even our regional perspective. There will be special sessions hosted by the Nigerian Ministry of Defense, which essentially will discuss issues around security and defense, and another session titled Reflections on Protecting Education from Attack in the Sahel. You know, the entire belt has been touched by all forms of insecurity, military action, and the actions of insurgents. So we will be dealing with that and responding to specific experiences on attacks on education in Nigeria, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, and also in Mali. Speakers will present the challenges faced and lessons learned for countries in other regions to draw upon. So who are the target audience for this conference? As I said, it's a forum for states, multilateral and civil society organizations to exchange experiences. So all UN member states will be invited to the conference, and there are specific international speakers who have been identified and invited on panels that will be comprising both government, multilateral or civil society organizations, with their representatives discussing the experience in implementing both the good practice and the areas where they didn't get it right. We are also inviting people at the ministerial level and the director general level from ministries of defense, foreign affairs, education, and other ministries that invited states deemed relevant. Affected persons who have had experience will come and share those experiences with us, including international organizations that are involved in conflict zones, as well as non-governmental organizations, civil society practitioners, and all experts in this field who have taken care to take some interest on the affairs of victims. There will be examples of children and other affected persons who will share their experience, and will also be able to highlight some of the good feedbacks in terms of those who had had the opportunity of continuing their education despite being victims of these conflicts. I'll give you the summary of the format and the mode of participation. As I said, it's a dual mode, it's a hybrid mode. We're going to have in person, but we're also going to be joining from all over the world. And we have finalized the venues, the ECOWAS Secretariat here in Asokoro, where all the facilities are in place for multi-language interpretations. And we intend to involve the media. Indeed, we are relying on the gentlemen of the press to ensure that this conference is adequately covered and its outcomes shared across all our states and the sub-region. There are a few tidbits for the media that I will share with you, and that tells you how you get accredited and what we have various hosting hubs. And these hosting hubs are designed to ensure wider participation, particularly by countries with limited internet capability. Embassies of the hosts and the co-hosts, as well as the UN agencies, through a coordinated approach in these countries, are encouraged to organize these hubs. We also have a few of that in a number of locations that more or less mirror what is going to be happening at the ECOWAS Secretariat in a simultaneous and coordinated manner. Some of the locations that we've agreed on include our AU mission. We have also hubs in Afghanistan, in Burkina Faso, in Cameroon, in the Central African Republic, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the mission in Geneva that deals with issues about safety of schools and conflicts. Then we're also dealing with countries like in Iraq, in Mali, in Niger, the United Nations New York mission, as well as in Ukraine. So this is a truly international conference that will have simultaneous rebroadcasts for all parts of the world. We have a conference website that we encourage the gentlemen of the press and more importantly the public who want any information on it. The latest about the conference website is going to be shared. There have been pre-hosting events, and this is one of them. There are 4 pre-hosting events that were marked to be organized by the following MDAs. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs had theirs, and I'm sure the media will be pleased with the level of coverage. The National Human Rights Commission has also had a pre-hosting event, while the latest, only a few days ago, was by the Ministry of Defense. So this brings to the 4th pre-hosting event for this conference. It's particularly hosted by the coordinating ministry, the Federal Ministry of Education. Now, we have also extended the publicity for this event to our embassies. So all the ambassadors in Nigeria, for example, are all in the loop, and our embassies in all the various countries across the globe are involved. Similarly, the UN, under its auspices, have been able to bring in all the agencies and international NGOs, diplomats, and other world citizens, as we describe them. So the essence of these pre-events are to sensitize the relevant stakeholders about the conference, and in particular to bring on board the gentlemen of the press to play a critical role of mobilizing our countrymen and women to receive these hosts, to extend the usual hospitality of the Nigerian people, to ensure that when these foreigners come in contact with us, we show them the right courtesies and be good ambassadors of our country. But more importantly, to ensure that we as a country respond in a nimble manner to the threats of safety or conflicts that get extended to our schools. We are also very conscious and appreciative of the measures being taken by the government and the results that have been recorded, especially in the northwest part of our country now, where normalcy is being restored in the northeast. So we hope that we'll also be able to have some encouraging reports to present to members of the international community on how we are able to guarantee the safety of our schools and for our children to resume and go to school with the assurance that teaching and learning can go on in a coordinated and ambient manner. Of course, there are going to be a number of side events, and these side events afford opportunities for critical stakeholders to also deepen participation by leveraging on other resource persons and other partners who will be attending the conference. The civil society event that is organized by the Education in Emergency Working Group will be led by UNICEF and Save the Children, both of them key actors in the field. On the first day of the conference, there will be a civil society side event organized by the Education in Emergencies Working Group. And this will be followed by a welcome reception that will be hosted by the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Indeed, I will encourage the Secretariat to share in advance the detailed program for the conference with the media so that Nigerians can also key in onto this. There will also be a children's event. This children's event will take place on the second day, and it will be organized by the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Save the Children. Details of these events, as I said, will be provided by the agencies organizing them. So essentially, this morning's interaction is to first appreciate the media for the wide coverage that we have received and to encourage you to further broaden this by deepening the participation of Nigerians and the relevance of hosting this conference for the first time in Africa, in Nigeria, for the benefit of our country. So I thank you all for your kind attention.
The Papyrus TV Africa.
The papyrus, put it on my table every month.